This will be a short presentation, just 20, 20 slides, guys. Sorry, the cost process, it's very, very large. So last session, we end up in this cost key concepts part. I don't know if you remember, but we finished before, well, we finished while I tried to explain what are the equivalent units. We will refresh that in a little bit further. So we, in process costing, each department needs to calculate two numbers for financial reporting purposes. One is the end, the cost of its ending work in process inventory, and then also the cost of its completed units that were transferred to the next stage. And that next stage of the production process, it could be to move on to the production inventory. Okay, so in doing that, there's two different methods for performing those computations. The first being the weighted average method, which I told you last class. It's just a refresher, and we will use this method. We're not gonna review FIFO. This is not an accounting course. The weighted average method calculates units cost by combining cost and outputs from the current and prior periods. When we get to the costing part, you will see that it will help us. It's easier. And the FIFO method, I just wanted to explain it to you because it's another way to do it. It's first in, first out. And we will not cover that. So we're going to focus on the weighted average method and only. Just give me 1 second. Okay, yeah. So characteristics of the weighted average method. Under weighted average method, there is no distinction between work done in the prior period and in the current period. It averages or blends all of those units together. So the cost from the prior and current periods get blended together, and the equivalent units of production for the department of the numbers of units transferred to the next department, or that could be finished goods, plus the equivalent units in the department's ending WIP. The second key concept is conversion costs. Remember that I just told you right now, the conversion cost. And we learned it at the beginning of the semester. And it's when we combine our direct labor and our MO together. So direct labor costs are often small in comparison to other products cost in a process costing system. And if you think about it, that kind of makes sense because the type of environment where we use process costing is probably a heavily automated or mechanized, or it's done by machines. So direct labor being relatively small, oftentimes we're going to take our direct labor and just add it right out into our manufacturing overhead. Do you see the chart? We are removing the direct labor, and that's why I explained to you the economics, economies of scale. The direct labor represents very few amount of the cost of the product. So instead of mixing it up like in job order costing, which it represents a very good weight of the job order, we will pass that direct labor and make it a conversion cost. It's just a conceptual thing, but at the end, it's just move direct labor to MO, and that's it. And we call it conversion cost. So therefore, direct labor and MO are often combined into one classification of product cost called conversion cost. That's what we're looking at here. Usually our materials is somewhat substantial, and then we'll deal with our direct labor and our MO together called conversion costs. So, and then the key concept number 3, this is equivalent units. And the equivalent units are defined as the product of the number of partially completed units and the percentage completion of the units. It is, as you're watching in the definition, it is a product. It means it's the result of a multiplication. Okay. And then just give me a second, guys. I think everything is freezed. Oh yeah, perfect. Do you guys
Teacher,
are hearing me?
yes, we are.
Perfect.
Teacher, could you quickly put part 3 and part 4? Just the slide. And part 3, just really quickly. I missed. Oh,
Conversion cost.
oh yeah, okay.
We're watching just concepts. I need you to,
Okay,
to have
thank you.
them a little bit clear for what we're gonna do next. Actually, get be ready, because maybe we do some quick checks. So equivalent units need to be calculated because a department usually has some partially completed units in its beginning and ending inventory. Remember, I told you, I just explained that in the white chart. So these partially completed units complicate the determination of a department output for a given period and the unit cost that should be assigned to that output. So let's review. This is equivalent units. Again, it's the number of partially completed units times our percentage of completion. Remember, it is a product. So equivalent units is the number of complete units that should have been obtained from materials, an effort that went into the partially complete units. So here's an example. Assume department A has 500 units in its ending WIP inventory. So just the fact that it's in ending WIP and it hasn't been transferred out tell us that it is partially completed. And they tell us that there are 60 completed, 60% complete with respect to processing in the department. These 500 partially complete units are equivalent to 300 fully complete units. We are taking 500 units times 60% to get the 300. Department A's ending WIP will contain 300 equivalent units for the period. So let's try this quick check, guys. Let's see if you have, if you're wake up. So for the current period, John started 15,000 units and completed 10,000 units, leaving us with 5,000 units in process with 30% completion. How many equivalent units or production did Jones have for the period? I'll give you 1 minute. Ready, guys? Only 4 of you. That's it, guys. Let's finish voting. And I hope you came out with one. Who can explain me who feels they are correct? Because we
Me.
do. What did you do, Arturo?
We already have the number of completed units,
Exactly. That's the first thing.
so then you just have to multiply the number of of work in progress units
Yes.
times the completion of it, and you add those up. The complete thingy, the complete unit, and the product of that multiplication.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Did everybody got that? You have 10,000 completed units, then you just multiply the well, I told you it's 10,000 completed units, and you multiply the 5,000 units in process by 30% of completion. That gives you 11,500. Okay, guys, those are the results. Come on. You need to be more more waking up. Come on, guys. Very easy. So the next learning objective, it's we want to walk through the steps in the process costing system. I'm gonna lay it out for you in 4 steps, and I make sure you that you've got all 4 of those steps by the time we're done. So if we have enough time, because it's a little bit long, this process. So step 1 is we're gonna compute the equivalent units of production. So there's a step 1, we're going to keep building on that. So as we do step 1, we're looking at Smith Company as our example, and they reported the following activity in the assembly department for the month of June. So we have our beginning wave, which is 300 units, 40% complete for materials and 20% complete for conversion. So first of all, a few things here. We need to get used to this format. Well, we can use many formats, but this is a more organized way. Like we keep things in columns, and we've got our units, and then we separate the materials and the conversion, keeping those 2 items in separate columns. So also I want to note, under the weighted average method, the beginning percentage of completion does not matter. It's just 300 units. And if we were using FIFO, this is what makes it more complicated, because those percentages would do matter, like but on their weighted average they do not matter. So that's extra information that we don't need, and what we need is 300 units. Then during June we start 600,000 units into production, so that we be 600 it's 6,300 units. It's the 6,000 plus the 300. So, and then they complete and transfer it out 5,400 units. So 6,300 minus 5,400 leaves us with 900 units in our ending WIP, and they tell us that they are 60% complete for materials and 30% complete for conversion. So give me 1 second. So what we want to do is figure out our equivalent units of production, and we always start by computing the ones that are actually completed and transferred. We know those ones for sure. Then, do you hear me, guys? Because it's freezing. My screen is freezing.
Yes, we do hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Excellent. Excellent. Just give me 1 second because I now can't see anything. Well, okay, perfect. So next, I did explain this one. Begin by calculating the equivalent units completed and transferred out of the assembly department in June. So we have those 5,400 units, and then we identify the equivalent units of production in ending work, in ending WIP, sorry, with respect to materials for the month. So we know that it's 540, and adding this to the 5,400 units from step 1. Very easy, guys. The 900 units that we had in the ending inventory, just multiply them to get the materials equivalent units. Okay, and we do the same for the conversion cost, and we get to 270 units. So finally identify the equivalent units of production in ending WIP with respect to the conversion for the month. Okay, we keep them separate and a conversion cost. So our equivalent units of production with respect to materials is 5,940 and 5,670 for the conversion. So equivalent units of production always equals the units completed and transferred plus the equivalent units remaining in WIP. That's important. It's the units completed and transferred plus the equivalent units in WIP. This is what we just did. Visually, this is what we're doing, and I find this a little bit hard to read. I like the charts better, but this is what we're talking about. So we had 300 units, and then we start our units into process, and then we have ending WIP that is 900 units. So the ones that are completed are 5,400 that get completed plus 60% of those 900, which is the 5,940, and we see similar for the conversion. We got 5,400 units, and then 30% of the ending WIP, the 9,000 is our equivalent units for 5,670. So next we need to compute the cost per equivalent unit. So that's going to be step number 2, compute the cost per equivalent unit. And we're going to keep building our 4 steps here. So in here we see lots of data. Our beginning WIP, remember, was 300 units. Our beginning cost for material is 6,119. For conversion, we have 3,920. And again, I still don't care about the percentage of completion, but I certainly do care about these dollars. That matters. those dollars which are in the conversion line and the materials line. So then during the period, we've got 6,000 more units, and then we completed 5,400 of them. In that time, we added material cost of 118,621 and conversion cost of 80,130. And of course, our ending WIP still 60% complete for materials and 30% complete for conversion. So a lot of information there, but what we want to do is get the cost of our beginning WIP plus the cost added during the period and divide it by our equivalent units of production. But keep in mind, we need to do this separately for materials and conversion. So if we're looking at materials, we have a beginning cost of 6,119. We added in 1,018, 621 during June for a total of 124,740. And then we're going to divide it by what we compute in step 1. Remember our equivalent units of production. So for the conversion, we do the same. We have the beginning conversion cost and the cost added during the next step, which is 81,130, and we get to our total conversion cost of 85,050. And again, we divide it by the equivalent units of production that we computed in step 1. Let's see how it resolves. Then we get our cost per equivalent unit. So 124,000. Wait. It's 21 divided by the equivalent units. It will give us the cost per equivalent unit. Well, per each section, you have to add them up, obviously. So you get your materials, you get your conversion, you add them up, and you get your cost per equivalent unit. So we can say that our cost per equivalent unit is $36. Just give me 1 second, guys. Just 1 second. That it's different, however, than taking this 209,790 and dividing it by the sum of our equivalent units. That's a different math. Don't do that. It's separately to materials and separately to conversion. And then we could add those together and set our cost per equivalent unit is $36. For now, focus on keeping things separate from materials and conversion, okay? Because in the next session, we will assign costs to units using the weighted average method. But until here, how do you feel, guys? Remember, you don't do the total cost for the total equivalence units. That will give you a different math. Do you agree?
Yes. What I think, well, what I did just for fun to see if it would do the same is that I will annotate. Oh, I can't. Well, I just found the average between the 5,940 and the 5,670, which I guess that is what we're
And
getting
how
to
much
the
did you
weighted
get?
5,805, and then divided 200 by that number. And I got 36.13, which is not that far off. So I'm guessing that's where we're getting to with the weighted average method.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. So guys, I need a full class for the what is coming. Right now, let's stop in there with the cost per equivalent unit. What we can do to avoid going into the next week is to give me 30 minutes tomorrow, guys. What do you think? To explain it as fast as we can.
I think it's fine.
Yes.
I trade you that instead of homework. I can give you a homework which is only commenting on Brightspace. Obviously, yes, we will have a quiz. But I trade you the homework by assisting tomorrow.
That's a problem for me.
That's a problem for you?
Yeah, I'll be driving like 400 kilometers.
Okay, then homework only for Marcelo. Anybody else? No, no, serious. No worries. No. If everybody,
I mean,
it's
I can join,
here is
but
there
it
a
will probably cut
democracy.
out.
If everybody agrees, we do it. Apply it for all.
I think you can record the meeting and no homework for
Yes.
anyone.
No, actually, that's why I recorded